Jim Schultz here for Calculated Risk. And don't forget, before we get started today, the best ways you can help us are by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Either one of those guys really helps us out a ton. So short strangles are arguably the most powerful strategy that we have in our arsenal as premium sellers. I mean, we have so many ways to win. It's high probability. You got positive data. You're selling both sides of the market. It's really strategic. It is a really, really great strategy, a classic bread and butter Betty Crocker recipe strategy that we use every single day. Okay, well, that's all well and good, but what do you do when the strategy is on? Like, what's your profit target? What's your loss strategy? When do you adjust? When do you manage? When do you decide to do absolutely nothing? That's what I want to focus on here today for the next 7, 8, or 29 minutes. So let's go. Okay, so before we get into the adjustments and all the different things that you can do, don't ever forget, if you want to, you can do absolutely nothing. Like nothing at all. Just let the power of short premium, just the structure of short premium carry you to the finish line. There's a reason why the do nothing strategy is our default setting for the From Theory to Practice fam that are watching this show right now. There's a reason why that's the go-to. So don't forget, you can always choose to do nothing if you feel more comfortable just letting the strategy play out. But of course, adjusting and managing, I mean, that has a ton of merit too. I mean, you're controlling directional bias, you're bringing in more extrinsic value. And so when there are times when you want to do something, what should you consider? And what is kind of the map? What is kind of the protocols that you should engage with when it comes to adjusting your short strangles when they begin to move against you? Well, let's take a couple of minutes. Let's lay out an overall groundwork of kind of a zoomed out version of what we're going to do. And then I want to hop into Tasty Trade. We're going to use a strangle that I have on right now and see all these things in real time. So super quick, broad overview. Let's start with profits and losses. Profits are almost always going to be 50% of max profit. So 50% of the credit collected. Losses, you have a few different ways that you could play this. You could go 2x of credit received. You could go 3x of credit received. You could go no predetermined exit point for your loss strategy. And then when it comes to your adjustments, you basically have a 3-step process. Number 1, roll the strangle into a tighter strangle when one strike gets tested. Number 2, if the break-even point gets tested, now you take that tighter strangle and roll it into a straddle. And then number 3, if the stock continues to run away from you, you consider going inverted on the whole position. Now, if that was all a blur and you're not really sure what any of that means, that's good because your boy needs that watch time. Let's hop into Tasty Trade and let's take a look at all these things with a real position. Okay, so here I am inside of my From Theory to Practice portfolio, and the strangle that I have on right now is GDX. Now, first you might notice the stock is at 86 and my strikes are 80 and 115. So I'm not exactly tested yet. I would typically do nothing in this scenario, but still I thought it would be really valuable to actually look at an actual position and let's kind of extrapolate forward mentally what we might do if the stock was at a certain point rather than just talking in the abstract about some hypothetical position that isn't actually live in the real markets with real prices. So we're going to start by looking at my GDX position. So first and foremost, let's talk about the profits. So if you look at the credit collected on this strategy, you can see I've collected $3.26. So typically I'd be going for about 50% of that maximum profit. So that means I'd be looking to buy this thing back for about $1.63. That is my profit target. I typically, hold pretty fast to that profit target and stick to that guy as what I want to make out of the strategy. Now, when it comes to my loss strategy, there's a few different ways that you could do this. And what I choose to do may not be what you choose to do. And that's not my goal here. My goal here is not for you to just rotely memorize what I do and just follow me blindly through the forest. I want you guys to think for yourself. And so when it comes to loss strategy, you're typically looking at 2x, 3x of credit received, or no predetermined exit point. So what would 2x of credit received be? That would be, if I sold my GDX strangle for 326, that would be buying this thing back for what, about 978. So if I bought that thing back for 978, then I would lose 2x of my credit received. And then 3x of credit received would be what, 12, be just a little over $13. $13 and a few pennies. And so that would be 2x of credit received and 3x of credit received when it comes to my loss strategy. Or You can do what I do, which is I don't have a predetermined exit point. I just kind of treat it on a case-by-case basis, on a day-by-day basis, and look at the overall risk profile of my whole portfolio, and I determine and decide if I want to continue holding that position and the risk that it is bringing into my portfolio. But you have to decide. It's up to you to decide what loss strategy makes the most sense. These are the three that the Tasty research team has looked at over and over and over again. 2x of credit received, 3x of credit received, and then no predetermined exit point. And then lastly, before we get into the specific adjustments, once you get to 21 days to go, just roll it out. Once you get to 21 days to go, you should either be rolling to the next monthly cycle or closing the strategy at whatever profit you might have at that point in time. Now, what if you're kind of on the fence? Like right now, for example, this is actually a great area to explore. What if I was up 37 cents on the trade and I was at 21 days to go? Do I take it off at a winner or do I roll it out? Well, this is a great example because this is right on the razor's edge of what I like to call economic significance. If it's not economically significant, meaning it has like tangible economic value, for some people, $37 will be enough, and for other people, it won't be enough, and that's okay. You have to decide that yourself too. If you have economic significance, then just take it off. Take it off, and once you factor in, commissions, fees, transaction costs, even taxes, whatever, you're like, all right, I'm happy with that winner on a trade that didn't really work super easily from the beginning, and you just take it off. If you don't have the economic significance, that is when you just roll it out to the next cycle. Just roll it out to the next cycle. Don't think twice about it and just move it out. For me, 37 cents is right on the razor's edge, and so I would probably roll it out and leave it on. I typically like to be maybe over 40 cents for economic significance, but that's just my own personal cutoff point. That might very well be different for you. Okay, so now let's go into the trade page of GDX and let's look at some of the adjustments that I outlined there in the intro to this video. So number one, let's say that GDX keeps going down and it runs down to the 80 level. So I'd be in the June cycle and the stock would have gone all the way down to my short put strike. Now, again, right now, it's not there. So you have to kind of mentally extrapolate this out and just kind of follow me through the forest. Obviously, the prices in the marketplace right now are not going to be relevant for what we're talking about. And I'm verbally kind of showing you guys, you have to kind of think creatively and imagine what might be happening in the marketplace. But the general principles, the overarching theme of what I want to talk about is absolutely going to be worthwhile and valuable for you when you have a strangle that is tested on one side of the market. So if the put gets tested, then what I'm going to be wanting to do is roll my call strike down. So what I'm going to want to do, the first step is I want to take this call strike, which you can see right here, and I want to roll this guy in to closer to where the stock price is. Now, the simplest way, the lazy man's way, if you will, to do this is just take the strike and roll it right to the edge of the expected move. Like, that's a super easy way. It's always going to kind of keep you on the right side of history, so to speak, to where you're not going to be too far off the mark when it comes to adjusting your strangle. If you want to get a bit more granular with your adjustments, then what you would do is you would want to cut your directional bias by about 30 to 50% of your overall directional bias in the position. So right now, my directional bias in the trade is my GDX has about 23 positive delta. So if you look at my overall directional bias, it's about 23 positive delta. Now, again, remember, if the strike was actually tested, that number would be much higher. I would be even more bullish. So keep that in mind. This is a pretty mild degree of directional bias to the upside for sure. And so just understand with an actual testing, you're going to have a lot more delta build up on one side of the market. But again, the same principle still holds true. Let's say I'm at 24 delta and I want to cut that delta by about 30%. Then what I would do is I would go back to the trade page here and I would want to bring my 6 delta call into about the 14 to 15 delta. So somewhere around here. And I know I want to go from 6 to about 14 because my overall delta is 24, and I want to cut that by about 30 to 50%. If I want to cut it by 33%, that's 8 delta. If I want to cut it by even more, I'm looking to pick up about 12 delta. That will bring me all the way up to the 18 delta. And so that is how you begin to think about how you want to cut your directional bias when you're rolling the untested side. Step number one strike is tested, and you want to cut your directional bias by rolling the untested side in. Think 30 to 50% of directional bias. Now, how do I decide? How do I know if I want to cut by 30% or 50%? Well, it's largely going to be your call, and it depends on how directionally biased you want to be. If you want to be more directionally biased, then I would cut it by less and kind of lean into the bullishness that GDX has given you, at least in this example. If you want to be less directionally biased to the upside, then cut it by more. And that's ultimately going to be your call at the end of the day, much like the loss strategy is. You're going to have to make a lot of decisions for yourself. But the idea here is just to show you guys the principles of what's happening and how you begin to think about the gimmies and the gotchas with the adjustments that you make. So that is step number 1. Okay, so let's go back to the positions tab. So let's say you rolled into that tighter strangle. Again, I don't have that on now, so we do have to kind of creatively kind of envision this happening. Let's say I rolled into that tighter strangle and GDX kept going down. The market just kept dropping. In this case, the gold just kept falling. And now I have to consider a second adjustment. Well, this is where I would take my tighter strangle, which, let's say I rolled up to, this 15 delta. So I would have a 103 call to pair up with the put that I have on that side of the market. This is where I would take my 103 call and I would just roll it all the way in to match my put strike. And so that would mean I'd roll it all the way into the 80 level. So now I would have an 80 straddle on. This is step number 2. So I went from a wider strangle at trade origination to a tighter strangle when one strike gets hit, to then rolling into a straddle. Now, how do you decide when to actually make the move into rolling into the straddle? This is where I like to look at my overall break-even point. And so again, remember, I collected, if you go back to the positions tab here, let me delete that circle so it's not kind of in the way. You can see I collected 326 on the original trade. Let's say, and again, I'm just kind of using numbers for illustrative purposes. Let's say I collected $1.25 when I made that roll into the tighter strangle. So my total credits collected will be $4.50. That means that my break-even point, if I go back to the trade bar here, or the trade page, I should say, that means my break-even point would be my 80 strike less the $4.50 of credit that I've collected. So my break-even point would be right around here, give or take. And so I would be waiting until GDX fell all the way here before I roll into the straddle. So that is kind of my second checkpoint. The first checkpoint is strike is tested. That's where I consider rolling the untested side. Again, remember, doing nothing is always a strategy, and it's becoming an even more popular strategy for me personally as of, just recent years. But if I want to make the adjustment, the strike being tested is the first kind of checkpoint. The second checkpoint is the break-even point being tested. That's when I consider moving into the straddle. Okay, and lastly, the last step is going to be, when do I consider going inverted? Well, let's say that GDX fell all the way down to like 66. So now I'm sitting on an AV straddle and GDX has fallen all the way down to 66, and I'm considering going inverted on this position. What would I do? Well, I'm still going to continue to mobilize the call side of the strategy. That's the side that I'm moving. So I would move my 80 call all the way down to potentially the 66 strike. Now, again, none of these prices are relevant because GDX is not at 66, it's only at 86. It hasn't fallen, it's only fallen $1 here. We would need to fall another $20 to get to that point. But again, kind of moving out into the future and thinking about what I would do if something were to happen, this is how I view an inverted strangle and what I would consider. The first stop in consideration is rolling down to the 66 strike, going all the way down to the at the money strike, because that's going to bring in the greatest amount of extrinsic value, which is going to allow me to take advantage of time passing in the most efficient and effective manner. What I need to be aware of, though, is I would then have a $14 wide inverted strangle on, because I have an 80 put and a 66 call. I'm going to want to, if at all possible, have my credits collected in total on the position be greater than the width of the inversion, because that difference, the credits minus the width, that is going to give me my profit potential on the trade. Now, once you go inverted, you're typically not going for profits anymore at that point. You're typically just looking to kind of, plug some leaks and mitigate your losses. But I still want there to be some buffer between the credit collected and the width of the inverted strangle to give me some wiggle room in the event that the stock does settle down and sit between my strikes. I don't want to be totally in the lurch where my credits collected are underneath the width. That makes it very, very difficult to be profitable on the position. And so a lot of traders just like to sit in the straddle once they get to that point. That's totally fine too. You don't have to go inverted, but if you want to do one more move to go inverted and really control that directional bias, this is how you would consider that. And then lastly, one final adjustment that needs to be kind of addressed, of course, and this is not really, adjustment number one or adjustment number two. This is kind of a rover adjustment that oftentimes goes along with adjustment number one or adjustment number two. And it's going to be just rolling the whole thing out in time. Like I can always just click on my options and I can roll them out to the next monthly cycle. And you can see I'm going to pick up a credit for doing that. And so rolling out in time is oftentimes paired up with adjustment number one or adjustment number two or both, depending on when they happen. And so don't forget, rolling out in time is always there for you, and it can really allow you to widen out your break-even points, bring in more extrinsic value, and just bring in a lot of benefits to the premium seller by just adding time and duration into the trade. Okay, so that's how you begin to think about adjusting a short strangle. Now, I know that was a lot, so you may need to watch this video a couple of times, even slow it down maybe 0.5x, because that'll really boost your boys' watch time. But if you think about the adjustment protocols in terms of 1, 2, 3, and these are the things that I'm thinking about doing: tighter strangle, then a straddle, then potentially inverted with kind of that rover of rolling out in time all along the way, it can really help you kind of cleanly view a strangle that begins to move against you, what you're going to do, and when you're going to do it. And as long as your position size is in check on order entry, you can do all these things gradually, methodically. You'll never feel like you're under a great sense of urgency to make these moves right away. You can do them as they make sense to you. Or, of course, you can always choose my favorite strategy, which is to do absolutely nothing. And so hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you guys next time.